Apple announced today that it would oppose the federal court order to assist the FBI in unlocking an iPhone that belonged to one of the two attackers that participated in the San Bernardino attacks that occurred last year. In the greater battle of government security versus personal privacy, what does this mean for you? I'll tell you what the news outlets aren't covering. Boo-boo-ba-doo. We're going to start out with a primer on the situation and then dive into its bigger consequences. Full disclosure, I am a former Apple employee. Let's get started. Just yesterday, the magistrate judge for the Federal District Court of District of Columbia ordered Apple to bypass security functions on an iPhone 5C to assist the FBI in getting into the contents of the iPhone used by Saeed Farouk, one of the attackers in the San Bernardino incident that happened in December of last year. This was issued because iPhones have a feature that after 10 failed attempts to unlock a passcode on an iPhone, the iPhone will wipe, erasing all data that was possible to retrieve on the phone. Tim Cook issued a letter to all Apple customers today saying, "The United States government has demanded that Apple take an unprecedented step which threatens the security of our customers. We oppose this order, which has implications far beyond the legal case at hand." People use iPhones to store an incredible amount of personal information. All that information needs to be protected from hackers and criminals who want to access it, steal it, and use it without our knowledge or permission. Compromising the security of our personal information can ultimately put our personal safety at risk. That is why encryption has become so important to all of us. We have even put that data out of our own reach because we believe the contents of your iPhone are none of our business. When the FBI has requested data that's in our possession, we have provided it. Apple complies with valid subpoenas and search warrants, as we have in the San Bernardino case. We have also made Apple engineers available to advise the FBI, and we've offered our best ideas on a number of investigative options at their disposal. But now the US government has asked us for something we simply do not have and something we consider too dangerous to create. They have asked us to build a backdoor to the iPhone. In the wrong hands, this software, which does not exist today, would have the potential to unlock any iPhone in someone's physical possession. Make no mistake, building a version of iOS that bypasses security in this way would undeniably create a backdoor. And while the government may argue that its use would be limited to this case, there is no way to guarantee such control. Apple goes on to elaborate about the threat to data security this would pose by asking Apple to hack their own customers, and that this sets a dangerous precedent. We're going to take a look at exactly how this can impact cybersecurity and what impacts it's going to have for you. Let's start by taking a look at the actual court order that was just released yesterday. It is hereby ordered that Apple shall assist in enabling the search of a cellular telephone, and the phone make is given, pursuant to a warrant of this court by providing reasonable technical assistance to assist law enforcement agents in obtaining access to the data on the subject device. Apple's reasonable technical assistance shall accomplish the following three important functions. It will bypass or disable the auto erase function whether or not it has been enabled. 2. It will enable the FBI to submit passcodes to the subject device for testing electronically via the physical device port, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, or other protocol available on the subject device. And 3. It will ensure that when the FBI submits passcodes to the subject device, software running on the device will not purposefully introduce any additional delay between passcode attempts beyond what is incurred by Apple hardware. There is, of course, more to this document, but it is only a 3-page read, so along with all the sources used in this video, it will be linked in the description below for you to read. Now, Apple has 5 working days to respond to this order. From the perspective of the FBI Director James Comey has this to say: "Justice may be denied because of a locked phone or an encrypted hard drive. The notion that the marketplace could create something that would prevent a locked closet from ever being opened, even with a properly obtained order, makes no sense to me." Now, as important as it is that the information on this iPhone is tied to the San Bernardino Massacre, it goes a step further. Tashfeen Malik, the other attacker in the San Bernardino Massacre, pledged allegiance to the leader of ISIS just before she and her husband carried out the San Bernardino Massacre. So this gives the government an even stronger case to argue that this information is necessary for national security to find out who Farouk's handler in ISIS may have been if the two are connected. So at this point, it's been made clear why the information on this phone is so important. Not only would it give us insight into the San Bernardino shooting, but it might also be linked to ISIS, which is enough for anybody to want this information. But this information would come at a significant cost. Let's take a look at what this would mean for personal privacy. Let's take a closer look at encryption, and I will go into this in more detail as this story unfolds, but for now, let's start at a high level. In cryptography, Kirchhoff's principle states that a cryptosystem should be secure even if everything about the system, except the key, is public knowledge, which means that you should be able to give as much insight into encryption as possible, but unless you have the key, you cannot decrypt it. So what does this mean when the government wants access into our personal devices? There are really only two ways you can do this when encryption is involved. One is by key escrow. Key escrow is an arrangement in which the keys needed to decrypt encrypted data are held in escrow so that, under certain circumstances, an authorized third party may gain access to those keys. Now, key escrow is proactive, which means that this key, this encryption key, would need to be proactively provided to the government, putting it in their trust, and it could also potentially mean that our passwords must be given to the government in order for them to have insight into our information. So since there is no law requiring key escrow right now, the other alternative would be a backdoor, which, as Apple says, it would be wrong for the government to force us to build a backdoor into our products, and ultimately, we fear that this demand would undermine the very freedoms and liberty our government is meant to protect. This is true. In encryption, there is no middle ground. There is strong encryption or weak encryption, and once you give away the key, that encryption becomes weak. So you might be saying, why not just give the key to the government? It'll be safe with the government. They'll have rules governing when they can use the keys and when they can't. Just give it to them. This is too important. Well, let's take a look at why we shouldn't. We only need to look back half a year to July of 2015 with the Chinese attacks against the OPM. In 2015, Chinese hackers attacked the United States Office of Personnel Management, with the results being that the personal information of 22 million people was leaked and put in the hands of Chinese hackers. Investigators ultimately determined that 19.7 million applicants for security clearances had their social security numbers and other personal information stolen, and 1.8 million relatives and other associates also had information taken. That includes 3.6 million of the current and former government employees for a total of 22.1 million. If the US government can't protect information for its most sensitive employees, how can we possibly expect them to protect the information of Joe Schmo who lives down the street? Apple can't even de-encrypt its own phones. In 2014, Apple and Google, whose operating systems are used in 96% of smartphones worldwide, announced that they had re-engineered their software with full disk encryption and could no longer unlock their own products. So in order for Apple to assist the FBI on this, they would have to break their own encryption with a tool that doesn't even exist yet, because even Apple can't access its own users' information out of privacy concerns. So what happens if this tool is created in order to assist the FBI and something like the incident that happened with the Office of Personnel Management happens again? There has always been a battle between national security and individual privacy, and ever since 9/11, this has really been highlighted, and more Americans are aware of it. But looking at the bigger picture, there are two distinct issues to consider in this situation. One, is this really a national security risk? And does that merit the government prioritizing national security over individual privacy? In other words, does the government really need the information that's on this phone that badly that it's worth violating individual privacy? And two, even if this situation warrants that, can we trust the government to protect this information? We've seen that they haven't done a very good job protecting personal information in the past, and by default, this is common knowledge in the cybersecurity industry, once an exploit exists, people will take advantage of it. This backdoor tool that would serve as a skeleton key to allow the government to get into any iPhone, once that backdoor is created, other people, the hackers and criminals you don't want to access your information, will find a way to do so. It's just a matter of time. But wait, there's one more thing. It is totally possible that the US government could create the tools to bypass Apple's security systems on its own. So why are they demanding Apple's compliance in this situation? Is it because it would make it easier? Or, in the greater battle of national security versus personal privacy, is this serving as a catalyst, an enabler for the government to be able to bend Apple to its will and finally go against one of the tech giants who's been a big advocate for personal privacy and make Apple bend to its will, opening up the way for other companies like Google to have to provide your information as well? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you value national security over personal privacy or vice versa? Let me know why, and let me know what you think Apple and the US government should be doing in this situation. No comments are ever deleted. This is an open forum. And if you found this video insightful, share it. This is going to be the first of a series of videos on this topic, so please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the rest. You should watch this video too right now. What is RIP Twitter and how does it affect you? We're going to take a look at what changed. Boop boop ba doo.